All right, David. So don't worry about it. Like people will slowly join in anyway. At the end of the day, as long as we can get this down
Mm-hmm.
on, I don't know what 3, 2, 1 for Paul is, but yeah, Paul is giving away a countdown to go. So whatever, however we, regardless of how many people can join for this anyway,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, as long as we get any clips, that's fine, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
we already know a little bit of the process. We will talk about a few different topics, and we want to go a bit news, ebb and flow, things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the very first question is, hey, David, you're in New York. You've been in New York now for, sorry, you've been in New York for 5 years, but you're in Chicago,
Yes. So been in New
Chicago
York. Yeah. Been in New York
before,
for about 6 years now, actually. And
right?
then Chicago for a year and a half. And then before that, like Singapore all the way through.
Of course, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
again, I was talking to James Lee, like I said, yeah, just the other day, and I was like, man, I didn't even know David was Indonesian. It's like, but isn't that cool? I think that's such a nice thing that Singapore is the type of market where, I mean, like, so Paul is on the call, for example. Paul, I
Uh-huh.
didn't really know he was Indonesian, but I knew he wasn't
Mm-hmm.
Singaporean, I guess. But I didn't
Okay.
question it, and that's the thing. There's got to be some similarities between life in Singapore and New York in terms of the whole melting pot in the industry,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Like, I think even more. Hold on, let me think. No, yeah, it's about the same actually. Yes, it's like you get people from all around the world, like, uh, and then you get to meet like them on a daily basis. Like you can't even tell.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so I guess very much the first topic is related to the fact that you have been very international, or rather, you're for a person who is natively Indonesian, but your career
Hmm.
started in Singapore. For the for the time being, we're going to call it first half, second half, right? So
Yeah,
for the first part of your career, and then now your second part of the career.
yeah.
Um, I've talked to a few people from who's working in New York now, especially people who have come from the Southeast Asian market and who have moved
Hmm.
into a North American market.
Yeah.
I think because you and I have similar experiences in the Singapore market, for someone who has never experienced the New York market, how would you say work is different one from the other?
Oh, I guess in New York, it's just because like people come from all over the world, like it's just like the level of competition is just so much higher, like like nobody, to be honest, like nobody cares about like who you are or like what you have achieved or what have you done, like all they care about is what can you do next, and again, like I think the industry knows that people will keep coming, like on every month, every year, so the level of the competition is just like intense, like you can, the moment like you've done something great, the moment you've done something well, and you just like immediately forget that. You just like that's it, like it's a blank slate. And then you just have to keep keeping that in mind that you're literally nobody because like like this year's winner from like Belgium or like from India, right? They will just like try to get here like next month as well. Um, so it's there's no sense of like, oh, like you've done pretty well, you've done a few great campaigns, you can like take the foot off like from the from the gas. Like no, there's no such thing.
So look, I don't want to compare Singapore and New York in the same way because I think they're different things anyway. But how about this?
Hmm.
I like what you just said, but to drill it down a little bit more, how about this? And maybe it's a little bit unfair because you started from the ground up in Singapore and you started from a
Hmm.
very not comfortable but a good challenging place in New York based
Hmm.
on the things you came in with. But
Yeah.
if we had to take the Singapore market as a comparison in terms of what you just said, which is, hey, your past doesn't matter. What you do now
Mhm.
matters. You don't think Singapore is like that?
Well, I guess in terms of Singapore, I feel like um, that's actually a good question. Like I feel like it's not that crazy. It's not that intense in Singapore. Like um,
But
it's
is that
of
because
course
of the
like
number of people? But is that also because of the size
also
of
maybe
the
because
number
of
of
that the size of
agencies,
yes,
the
I
number
think
of
so. Yeah.
competition?
Yes, it's also because of like the yes, the number of like the agencies and like the number of like the people as well. And also because I feel like there's really like a lot of like great creatives in Singapore to begin with, right? So it's like you can have like the same what do you call that? Like yeah, but I guess like you can go with like the people um and I think it's not as intense. I feel like I don't know why. It's really weird. Like yeah.
Okay, so well, that's interesting. I didn't know that's where we're going to go with it. I think here's the thing. Look, I think you're right. I think it's also size of the population and the
Yeah,
competition.
yeah,
So then, how about this? Let's switch a little bit more because we're still in this conversation of a person who has experienced two different worlds.
yeah.
Certainly not a third one at this point in your career with Indonesia, even though you're natively from there. But do you? How about this? The conversation about you mentioned that nobody really cares what it is that you've come with because at the end of the
Mm.
day, New York in a way is like the holy grail place to be performing, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think in some ways Singapore was certainly at one point, and maybe it's no long. It's lost a bit of that sheen, I suppose. That's I'm allowed to say that. You don't have
Mm.
to agree with me. You save yourself. Don't have to agree with me. That's my opinion on the matter.
Yeah.
Um, do you think, given the fact that no one gives a shit about
Mm.
who is Stefanov, I don't care. Get down to it. There is aspects of that in Singapore. What would you say is the biggest differences between the two then? Besides the reputational, I don't give a shit. Like, what is it
Okay.
from a work ethic, work process that's different?
Yes. I can give you an example. I can give you like a real life example of that. Like I think uh it's like every brief. Okay, I get not every brief. I guess like the ones that are like big campaigns, right? Like, and I'm not even talking about like one brief per year, but it could just be like a brief, like a month thing. Every brief is like a pitch between like different creative teams within the same like agency. Like if you remember, like in Singapore or maybe like I can say about Indonesia, but in Singapore, usually like it's just like it's like maybe one brief and then one team working on that brief, right? But here it's like you could have like three, four different teams pitching just for that one brief, like, um, and then like, and then on top of that, if the brief is big enough, then you get like freelance teams as well, like external teams. So you can see like the numbers adding up, right? And then like from there, and then you start pitching for like different big ideas, like for different big ideas, different territories. If let's say your ideas kind of like go through, right? And then after that, you still have to pitch for your scripts, like your TV scripts. So, as you can see, like maybe you have like two, three big ideas kind of like go through, right? But then you think like, oh, like I'm good. I have two, three territories in. But then like for the next round, this is before even going to the clients. This is just like internally. And then from two to three these different ideas, then you have to write TV scripts against them. And then like the other teams are gonna write TV scripts against them as well. So as you can see, like I think by the time this goes to the client, you already have like, I don't know, like 40, 50 different like TV scripts that the ECDs and the CCO can choose from. Um, it's that level of intensity that I was mentioning. And then let's not even talk about the Super Bowl brief, like that's like that is like this process, but imagine it like almost to like a year long kind of process. You just have to keep like coming back and coming back and coming back, write more, so yeah.
Here's the very funny thing. Okay, so I moved
Um,
to Singapore in 2006, and I moved
uh,
from New Zealand, Australia. I think for the size of market that they are, they punch a lot above their weight. For the size
mm,
of the population, the kind of work that they produce is great. And I started my career there. And what you just described, which was a bit of a, oh my God, this is what's happening in New York. I was used to that in Auckland. In Auckland,
right.
uh,
Okay.
remember, the population of Singapore and New Zealand exactly the same, except
Okay.
Singapore is like an APEC market, a big market.
Yeah.
Certainly pre 2006, when I was there, that was what was happening. It was, I wouldn't say it's, I fail to call it as cutthroat as what New York is going through, obviously. But
Okay.
the fact that you have to watch your back, that your neighbor, your lunch buddy, let's call it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
who's
yeah,
one of your colleagues, is competing against you, as
yeah.
opposed to
Mm-hmm.
if you and I or a Paul or someone's working, we have our own kind of a own domain of where to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think it's healthy in a way. I was quite
Yeah.
surprised that in Singapore it wasn't doing that. My question to you then is, given the two different ways,
Mm-hmm.
do you think it's healthier? Or no, how about this? Do you think it's more taxing mentally,
Yeah.
or do you think it's worth it if it's getting better ideas? Or does it not really affect whether you're getting better ideas?
It definitely affects, like in terms of getting like better ideas, it definitely like, like that level of like refinements and like I would say competition, it definitely like brings out like the best script, the best idea, but it's taxing in a way that because you think that, like it's always been like this question that I have with my ex CCO, like I ask him like, what do you think is more important, the big ideas or like the TV scripts, like uh because like for thinking about big ideas, like I would have no problem, right? Like, big ideas, I think we are used to that, like in Singapore. In fact, I feel like uh in Singapore, we did it better. But it's just that like after that, then you have to write like TV scripts against like these people who are basically just like, they're just like printers for like TV scripts. They just keep churning out like scripts after scripts after scripts after scripts, like for them, writing scripts, I guess, will be for, I would say like for me back in Singapore, like when we thought about like print or press campaigns, like like it's just that easy for them. Like you want like 10 scripts tomorrow? Yeah, sure, no problem. I can give you 10 scripts tomorrow, like so it's that level of like me and my partner, maybe we could think for like one or two or three, like five if we are lucky, but then like if you're playing against like 15, it's like again like this the numbers game, right? Like out of this quantity you get quality. Um, but but if you are in the position of like, I can see that, if I were in the position of as a creative director and as like a executive creative director, I would want to see numbers. I would want to see like, like all these gems to pick from, right? Like, oh, like that part is good, like polish that, like that area is good, like do that, so you have a breadth of ideas to choose from, uh, which is like amazing, I think. But also, I think in terms of like no, I wanted to say about the time, but I think that that's not true. Like here is just like whatever it takes, like weekends, like late nights and all that stuff. Like if you don't want to do it, like fine, like but other teams are gonna do it. So, it's really up to like it's really up to you if that in that sense.
I used to think, uh, again, using my own experience from
Mm,
pre-Asia, I used to think that in a place like New Zealand, I was always
Mm-hmm.
competing against other people. But then, but then when you're competing with other people, I think competition is healthy. To
Mm.
have
Oh yeah,
competition
definitely.
against someone else, what it does is it
Mm-hmm.
forces you to bring your A game, right? There's nothing wrong
Yes,
with it.
exactly. Yeah.
And then so that I kind of got from that market, which I would say is similar to what New York is doing in terms of spreading the brief out, not just make it pressure for one team. But
Mm-hmm.
then we go to the aspect of uh, um, this is not a quality quantity, but this is about burning time, weekends, late nights,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah.
which I saw more in Asia, Singapore, than I did in New
Mm-hmm.
Zealand. So
Oh, really?
in my world, my own personal
Uh-huh.
experience, we were competing more, but it was at a, for lack of a better way of saying it, an ethical amount of time to be putting time into work versus
Yeah.
getting good ideas out. And I can say that I'm not in Singapore anymore. I found in Singapore it was let's keep burning time to do it. And the problem there is because you've got just the one team to do it. And if they don't get it right, the ECD is dealing with that one team to get it right. New York is kind of doing best of worth best of both worlds or worst of both worlds. Because on one hand, you have the high competition in New York,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also giving you license to keep pushing, pushing, pushing until people are falling ill or being hospitalized. So what's happening?
Well, I guess it's just I don't know,
But do,
maybe
but,
it's
but do
just
you understand?
accepted.
But do you understand the differences that I'm like? One is healthy competition, and one is just keep going until the sun
Yeah.
comes up. And I
Yeah.
think you're saying you have both.
It's kind of like, how should I say it? It's like I think it goes back to my earlier point, right? Like if as you said, if you know, like if you keep doing it until like someone, like taps out, and they'll be like, sure, like someone else will just like come along and pick it right back up, like it's just the number of, like teams who basically, if you don't want to do this, like someone else will, and I think it's healthy in a way that as long as the CCO or the ECD, like are able to direct it in the right direction, right? Like it's not just kind of like, oh, just keep doing and keep doing and keep doing or whatever. But as long as they can give you like a clear direction of like why we are going in a certain way, and not the other way, I think that's fine because they just keep like sharpening like the whatever that we need to get at the end, and I think in a way it kind of like helps as well, like even though it's kind of like burning like the candles through the night, right? But as long as like, okay, this is what is expected, this is what they want to see, I guess it's better in that sense.
Okay, so my next question is probably subjective because it's subjective to David
Hmm.
Steffen. On one hand, I can absolutely see the argument for those extra steps, that extra process that has come with graduating into that world of New York. And by the way, you've obviously also graduated from roles, creative director as well. And
Hmm.
then New York setup is very different than an equivalent of that in Singapore. Subjectively speaking, your opinion is the does the effort match the reward?
Sorry, what was the question again? Does
Does,
the
does
effort
the
match?
effort match the reward of that next step?
Oh yeah. Yes.
Talk about that. So let's talk about that.
Ab Absolutely. I think in a way it's more of like it's like when you get it right, or like when you like, I wouldn't say hit it big. I guess it's more of like when you can produce something great. I think it's rewarding in a way that, because the standard is gonna be there, you know, like you know it's like yeah, it's I think that's why in a way sometimes I think uh it's kind of like tricky. It's kind of like contradictory. It's really hard in the beginning, but once it goes through, uh, I would say it's relatively easier to produce like award-winning campaigns in the US, you know? Like I think that for the longest time I've been wondering about that, right? Like I'm like, why is it like, you know, all these big campaigns, why all these like award-winning campaigns coming from the US, like they just keep winning everything, right? Like, but then when I got here, I start understanding and I start seeing like, oh, this is it, you know, like you the moment like you're able to produce something and you do it well, the standard is more or less there, you know, like it's just a matter of like what you're gonna yeah, how well the work is gonna do. Basically, that's that. Um, like for example, like the Tide campaign that I did with the team. It's like it's such a it's such a taxing like project, you know, like it takes like months and uh a few teams working on that, like work, and we keep working like on a daily basis, you know, like we presented like scripts like today to the clients, you know, and then the clients review it, and then the next day like we review again, like you know, and it's happening like over a I don't know, like a period of like a few months, right? And then like the clients say like, okay, great, let's produce this, right? But then before even producing that, I think we must have like done like 30 to 40 different edits. And I'm not even exaggerating, like 30 to 40 different edits before we even like go for the shoot, just because of the nature of the idea, right? Like we just need to make sure we know what we are doing when we get there. And then when we get there, the writers like this is literally like what happened. Like the writer, the ECD writer, and then like she called like all the writers. Basically, she said like, okay, we're gonna have like 20 to 30 different like end jokes for this. So let's have a think, you know, like while we're shooting, while the shoot is happening. So they're just like watching, and then like they're writing jokes, like you know, as they're doing it. So it's just like that. And by the time it happen, by the time it's all done and produced and like get out of the way, you know, like it's gonna be there. It's just because of the number of like inputs that everyone has. So, yeah.
Yep. Okay. So we've talked quite a bit about this, but I think it's interesting. One thing I would say to you is this, uh, Paul. I think is still on the call. You've never worked on a global P&L. Paul and myself were on the Unilever team, the global team, for the longest time. And
Uh-huh.
what you've just described is
Yeah.
very much how the Unilever global team is very different than the Singaporean. Like like you mentioned James Lee earlier, like these are people who have
Hmm.
done global stuff. That is very much the process. There is like 30, 40 rounds, and even after things get approved, the CMO will make change. Anyway, that is actually something I did notice the difference between the Singapore core kind of brand stuff versus
Hmm.
the APEC global stuff. But okay, just to wrap up for this thing, what I would
Yeah.
want to say then is, um, you, uh, you have you mentioned the payoff that you get from
Yeah.
getting across the finish line, and it takes a long
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
But you've also mentioned, and I can surmise that that means that a lot of people go through this, and certainly when you first get there and you're
Hmm.
not used to that, you must be like, what the heck did I do? How did I end up like does that reward come? Like, do you wake up only that reward is there after you get that across that hill? Do
Uh-huh.
people who move across to New York, people with different experiences outside like Europe or Asia or anywhere else,
Yeah.
do you think that's just part of the New York experience?
I think so. I think that's part of like the initiation like process, right? You know, like it's just like you just need to understand that uh that TV is still like a big part of like New York or like US, you know, like no matter what you wanna say, but it's just that part of the thing. You just need to be able to, I mean, you won't get it right, like, you know, like the first, like, I would say the first few years, you know, you just need to keep like learning and studying and understanding like how this thing works actually and how to be able to produce like not just scripts, but produce like better scripts, you know. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about something informal, something about your life that's not related to advertising. Now, because
Okay.
it's you're in New York, I kind of just I pitched to you that why don't you tell me about something that is who you are today now that you're living out
Yeah.
there. You have a topic. I'm interested to hear about it. I don't know anything of what you're about to say, so go on.
I was gonna say ironing or like ironing clothes is the best chore there is. It's is 100%, like no debate on that, you know, like I can do that all day long, you know, like you said about like 15 hours, 7 days a week, I can do that 7 days a week, you know.
You literally you like iron.
Yeah, it's like the idea of like, I don't know, like ironing clothes, like folding clothes, you know, like it's there's something
It's like this
therapeutic
Zen.
about
It's
the
a
whole
very
thing.
Zen thing. Right. Okay.
It's very zen. It's about like, I guess you put like order into chaos, right? Like, you know, you have like all this like, you know, laundry and all that. They're all clean, but they look chaotic. And then like the moment you kind of like put them together and you kind of like stack them up and you're like, oh, you know, like it's you're putting, yeah, basically that you're putting order into chaos, you know, like it's therapeutic.
So my friend, my Indonesian friend, I live in Indonesia, and
Uh-huh.
I can tell you there's two things I hate in my life.
Hmm.
Ironing is certainly one of them. Cleaning dishes is
Oh
another.
yes, cleaning
You
dishes.
get
Cleaning dishes is, yeah.
yeah. So like because in Indonesia, in even in Singapore, you can get
Uh-huh.
helpers to do these menial kind of things. But the
Yeah.
fact that you're able to find some solace, some Zen moment in doing that, is it also because
Yeah.
of being a young father, or rather having a young child, and like it's the three, it's the three of you, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. Me,
Yeah.
my wife, and my young son, yeah.
So is it a habit you picked up after New York? I'm assuming that's what we're talking about.
No, no, no,
No.
no. No. It, I picked it up actually back in Singapore, you know, like it's just like one of those things that I had to do it, and after a while I was like, wait a minute, like, you know, this is actually, I mean, it's not fun, but that like when you're doing it, I felt like I can do this, you know. It's you know what's funny? My mom, she is like like your typical Asian mom, right? Like I've I would say like I've achieved quite a few things in my life before in school, you know, like at work and all that stuff. She never said a thing, nothing, like not a single word of like, you know, um, yeah, never said anything. She saw me ironing clothes, and then that's the first time. I'm not even joking. I'm not even exaggerating. That's the first time I could sense she's proud of me. You know, like she actually like called my dad. She says like, look at how he he ironed the clothes."
Do you have
But yeah,
siblings? Do you have siblings?
I have a younger brother. You know,
So you're
yeah.
the eldest.
I'm the eldest. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
Th-
Okay. This was my question.
there's something funny about that nowadays. Like I'm trying to do like actually something different. Like I'm trying to kind of like, how can I fold the clothes without using the iron, right, but still get to, you know, like achieve like more or less the same effect, you know. I
Yeah,
think I've been,
you're optimizing the process, like because you're creative
yes, I'm
director. I think that's
optimizing the
what it is.
process. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, how can I cut like the layer in this process, you know, like. I mean, but nothing still beats ironing though. Like, yeah, especially like here. And then you get like different ironing, like iron options, right? Like that I couldn't find in Singapore or in Indonesia. Like, oh, that's everything. I know
So I
it's
mean,
weird, but
that's fine. That's fine. I mean, so you mentioned well, you mentioned to me offline that you live in Queens and you have to do the commute to
uh-huh.
work. How long is that commute?
It's not that long, actually, to be honest. It's like thankfully, like it's weird enough. Like I have to take this train line, which is like it's like the E subway line. It's weird enough that a lot of like agencies, or like at least the agencies that I've worked with, they're all along the E line. So it's like it doesn't take long. I don't have to change, like I can just sit in and like read books, and then like I'll be at the office within 40 minutes,
Okay.
45 minutes. Yeah.
The point I was getting to is like so David is working minimum 10 a day, if
Hmm.
5 if not more days a week, and he goes home and ironing is his throwing a baseball around.
Hmm.
Is that right?
I wouldn't call it that, but like it's just that of all the chores that, like that me and my wife like divided, like, I would say like I don't mind doing the ironing, like if I have to do the ironing, I'll be like, sure, I'll do that, and if my wife says like, can you do more than, one session of ironing, I'll be like, yeah, I think I can do that too, like it's not that like I go home and look forward to the ironing like, bored, but but if I have to choose, yeah.
Fair, fair. Okay, all right, cool. Uh, let's move on. What I would say is your
Sure.
wife is very lucky that you are able to do that because yeah, that would never happen in my life. Okay, so okay, we had a bit of a breather here. Let's come back a little bit
Hmm.
onto advertising. Let's come back a little bit back to the things that you're passionate about. At the end of the day,
Yep.
this is really the most important subject
Hmm.
that I really want to talk about. We talked a little bit about the market, and thank you.
Yeah.
There's some stuff I think you and I should have offline about that, but
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you've expanded my view a little bit more about the difference between Singapore and New York, which is great.
Hmm.
But now let's come back to almost an addition to that, which is I mentioned at the top of the call that, and you've mentioned as well during the call that even though you are originally from Indonesia, you've never actually.
Hmm.
Obviously, you have roots there, and in fact, you're going to be going
Yeah.
home again in a couple of weeks for summer, or for a break, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But there's still something that connects you to that. Now, so my
Yeah.
question is this: I find that quite amazing. I was born in Dubai. I grew up in New Zealand, and
Hmm.
I've always looked at where I am as my home. But somehow you've
Yeah.
you've been able to juggle the, let's say, personal personal leadership responsibilities between being in one place and the other. In terms of, you've told me that you're still, even though you've never actually worked directly with Indonesian agencies, you
Hmm.
have a connection to Indonesia.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe for the longest time, I always have this question. Like it's like I know the Indonesians are very creative. Like, like I can say like, yeah, I would even say Indonesians are more creative than Singaporeans. But I always have this question, why can't the Indonesians, why can't they do better than,
Have you
like
been
than my
watching my
friends in
clip?
Singapore? I have, but like this was the questions, like like for the longest time, like because I've worked with like I've worked in Singapore, of course, and then like I've interacted with Indonesian creatives, and like this was before when even when I was in school, right? Like I always wonder, like Indonesians are super creative, like to the point that it's quite intimidating actually. Like if you think like all the and when I mention about creative work, I'm talking about like graphic designers and like and it's like just beyond advertising, like advertising of course,
The
but
arts,
like
the arts,
creative,
the arts side
the
of
arts, yes, the art
yeah.
side of like the Indonesians, right? But I'm like, why can't we do better? I guess it's just more of that I'm curious, but also at the same time that I feel like I just want to help in any way, like if I could, like try to um yeah, like try to I guess like level the field a little bit, like and it's also partly because just trying to answer my curiosity, I guess.
Can you talk a little bit about how you are involved with the Indonesian advertising community? I think you mentioned you've done a few things over the last few years over
Hmm.
but could you, for us to, so I can get it on, could you talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, I've just been like, whenever like they want me to kind of like go back and like maybe like give a workshop, like give some talk, like lectures, or be a mentor for like the young creatives, like I would always say yes to that. Sometimes I would judge at Chitra Pariwara as well, but I don't think that's as helpful, I guess. But like when they ask me to give like talks, like like be mentor to like the young creatives that took part in AdFest competition this year, like I was like, yeah, sure, more than happy to do that. So I've just been doing that like as and when like they basically like I told them like there's me, please like make full use of like like what I've learned, what I've done, like where I've been. Uh, yeah, so basically take full advantage of me in any way you can.
So is that something that was like was it an elective decision, or was that when people reached out to you? Because again, it may be strange for someone who's not really from that advertising environment to
Hmm.
just jump in there. What was the catalyst? Was it like people in the Indonesian advertising community reaching out to you? Did it happen the other way, both ways? How did that actually happen?
It's a little bit of both, I guess. Like, because I have one of my juniors, uh, I think, work in Indonesia, and then like at that time, he's got a girlfriend who is now his wife. Like was part of like the Chitra Pariwara committee. So she was in charge to kind of like try to find like potential like speakers, possibly from overseas, like so that they can come to Indonesia, share their knowledge and all that stuff. And then like I think the two of them were discussing, and then like my junior is like, how about like David? I know David, and his at that time I was at RGA in New York, so they just brought up my name, and it just happened that they were like, oh, like maybe it's interesting. I don't think they knew who I was before. So went back and then found out that I'm Indonesian as well. And then I think from there it just like, it just continued from there, I guess. So from then like they just like kept reaching out, and yeah, of course, if the timing is aligned, I would always try to be available.
So okay, so then I have two questions around
Hmm.
this. This
Yeah,
I'm going to
yeah,
tell you the second question first, just to let you
yeah.
know where it's going, but I'm going to come back to the first.
Okay.
The
All right,
second
right.
question is going to be about um, would you don't have to answer this one yet, but the second question is going to be
Okay.
about would you ever discount finally being a part officially of the Indonesian advertising industry? Okay, I'm going to come to that.
Mm-hmm.
But the
Okay.
first part of that question is you've already mentioned it, which is there seems to be this invisible gap between the talent
Mm.
level within the arts in such a vast culture and economy like Indonesia has, versus the type of results that the advertising industry, creative, et cetera, are pulling out.
Mm-hmm.
You've mentioned you don't know what it is, you don't know where the gap
Mm-hmm.
lies, but you're willing to help and cultivate that talent.
Yeah.
My question to you is, without going into the talent,
Mm.
do you think, my opinion, do you think that's to do with the way we are taking care of the way we're giving importance to the arts? I would like us to stay in advertising, but it doesn't have to be in advertising.
Mm.
It could be arts in general.
Uh, wow, there's no short answer to that, Like I feel like the more I get involved, the more I try to see like Indonesia as a whole, the more, like I try to kind of like study what's been going on and all that stuff. Like it's really like there's not really one precise answer to that question, to be honest. Like, yes, of course, like one of the things, of course, like it's all about that. Like you're right, like I don't have to stay in advertising, like I think the emergence of, this what do you call that? Like tech companies, right? Like where they can just like throw all the money, like they're more than willing to burn like the money to attract like all the talents, like of course like people would just like, yeah, why would I want to stay in the advertising industry? I could just like do the same thing and go in-house and all that stuff. But I don't know. It's really an interesting question, right? Like I guess it's is it and this is a question I keep asking myself all the time. Is it like a reflection of like an Indonesian society as a whole, right? Like if you know, or I don't know if you know, but like, there's always like this contents about like the crazy rich like people in Indonesia, like how they're always able to get like the biggest traction on social media, right? Like people follow them, people just like, I was like, is it like that people are always attracted to like what is the easiest or like the fastest way for me to, like get there. I wouldn't say like to be that rich, but at least like on the way there. Uh, but that becomes like a bigger like conversation, right? About like how we as in like Indonesians as a society, how we, like perceive what success is, I guess. Um, but yeah, it's really interesting. I kept asking like that question, even to my old CCO. I don't know if you know Eugene Chong. I asked him about this as well. Like, you are the Apex CCO. Why do you think, like the Indonesians can't do better? He said something which was interesting, which made me think of like something else. But he said like Indonesians are great, like great Indonesia has a great pool of like creative talents. I guess one of the first and the biggest disadvantage is like Indonesia's official language is not English. Like we I guess like yeah, English is not our first language, like so a lot of like most of the time um we just have to kind of like there's that like big step that we have to kind of overcome before we can be that.
I got to cut you off. I call bullshit on that. You don't have to understand a Thai ad to see a great Thai ad.
For sure, which actually made me think about like it kind of like broadened my conversation or like the conversation that I have with myself, right? Like, what is it about exactly what you said? Because the Thai has been doing it, right? Like, but then
Japan,
I was like,
Thailand, Japan. I don't have to know the language. It's not creativity is
exactly.
not about the language
It's
barrier.
it's not about the language, exactly. So, but then I was like talking about that, and I was thinking about that. I was like, maybe it's not that, but it's just the way. I don't know, maybe education, like is also uh, part of that too, like education as in not like the it's not about like the education system, but or maybe it's about the education system, but it's about how we were educated, like how we were raised, like from young. Uh, I don't know if you have any experience, but like in school, like we were always taught to kind of like, just listen to the teachers, just follow, like, no debate, no questions, like, uh, so it became like, I think Indonesia is such a, like a very, I would say a patriarchal, like society where basically like whatever that you are told, you have to follow that, like again, like this is not the answer. I'm just like wondering, right? Like, could it be that like um, that we don't even have to, uh, we don't question, we don't, like we don't, I don't know.
Here's what I would say. I would say even if you're being educated in a
Mm,
Western way, and I would suppose starting in Singapore, you had some sort of education out there. Did you or did you
yes,
not?
yeah, yeah. I I I
Right.
I
So
I studied in the
so,
Singapore
so
system as well.
let's call it that.
Mm,
But then let's say you're in India.
mm-hmm.
Indian ads make it to a global level in terms
Yeah,
of, if nothing else, entertainment.
yeah,
Japanese ads get there,
mm-hmm.
Thailand ads get there, Europe,
Yeah,
obviously, South America, Brazilians,
yeah,
all of these
mm-hmm.
guys do it.
Yeah,
Indonesia is the fourth or fifth biggest population in the world. I don't see that same type of globalized conversation at a creative level. And it's always
mm-hmm.
surprised me. I've been here since 2018.
Yeah,
And I agree
that,
with you from a arts based point of view. I have said this before. I have a clip on my TikTok right now about this
mm-hmm.
with my first guest, Paul Siddhartha, where I talked about this, where Indonesia starts higher than a Singapore, but somehow
Okay,
Indonesia doesn't know how to build it. For some reason, they just don't know how to
yeah,
build it. And
okay,
I
that,
refuse to think it's language. And I
yeah,
refuse to think it's education, because if it is education, then how can they be so creative? It can, because creativity is not necessarily something that you're taught, it's something that's part of you.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's the
yeah.
way we are harnessing the talent. And I don't think that's quite the
Could it,
same.
could that, be part of education then? Like how, like the people who are harnessing the talents, like may not be, like may not be enough to bring that talent to, like to the level that it takes to succeed. I mean, that's part of education as well, right? Like education in the advertising industry as well. Like, the people who can basically like see the talents and then try to, instead of like force fitting that into what you said was interesting, instead of like force fitting it into like the standard that, like the international market or whatever,
Make
why
your
don't we
own.
do something, yeah, why don't we do something that is specific for the Indonesian market and makes it unique, maybe that's the thing, maybe that's what
I
we
have
need more,
always I have always thought that's the thing that's missing. Again, I don't speak
yeah,
Thai. I see a great Thai ad,
mm-hmm.
I get it. I don't speak
Yeah,
Japanese.
yeah,
I see a great
yeah,
Japanese ad, I get it. I look at an
yeah,
Indonesian ad, entertainment is there, but
yeah,
somehow we're not. You're a creative director, and I've been a
yeah,
creative
yeah, yeah,
director.
yeah,
There's that level. Like the thing you just said with the
yeah,
New York at the top of the call. The great thing about having more and more ideas is your ECD and
mm-hmm.
CCO can say, I like this, push this way, push that way.
Yeah,
We need more of that. But for that to happen, there needs to be a faith in that is important. That's part of the process in
mm,
order to
yeah,
get there. And I think
yeah.
Indonesia is falling behind. So to that end, and
Do
you've
you?
already started it, what is the
Mhm.
advice? What do we do?
I feel like it's again like I don't think it also falls in just like the creatives like responsibility, like
I
I
didn't
feel like
say that.
everyone, right?
I'm saying
No,
from an
yeah.
industry point of view, what is it that we should do? Oh,
Wow.
I'm not blaming it on the talent.
No, no, no. I'm
Go
not
ahead.
I'm not even just saying the talents. I'm saying that I feel it's not just like on the creative side, I feel like everyone needs to be involved in this, including the clients, you know, like could it be like the clients as well? Like the talents, again, like I'm just saying this like based on like my assumption, right? Because I've never worked in the industry before. Could it be like the talents are there, the mentors are there, but maybe the clients are not ready to do that, to go beyond like that? Could be because, for example, like one of the other reasons why the American industries are so great, because the clients here are more willing to take like creative risk, you know, like I could even say the same with the clients in Singapore as well, you know, um like you talk about like working on like Unilever like global account, because I did that as well, but like through like the based on my experience in Singapore, right? Like,
Was that your
but
Ogilvy days?
there's like, yes, in my Ogilvy days, you know,
Yeah.
but it's just like, I don't know, like it feels like with the clients here, they're more than willing to just like take like creative risk, even though like the research says otherwise. I've experienced this like a few times at least, you know, like the latest one was for my Downy ads with the Backstreet Boys. That campaign like died like a few times, literally died. Like, you know, like I was in my mind, I was like, oh my God, like there's no way this is gonna get produced. But it was the client who said like, no, I believe in this idea. I believe in this execution. You've done your part. Let me do my part now. So the client was the one who basically said like, I'm gonna like, I have faith in this. I'm gonna bring this to life, you know? Um, Even though like the testing results says otherwise. The testing results say like we mustn't do this campaign, but the client was like, no, I like this campaign. I want to do it, and I'm gonna put like the money behind it. I'm gonna put my energy behind it. Whatever it takes, let's do this, you know. But of course, like they're willing to take creative risk in a sense that like, you know, doing it responsibly. Of course, it's not just like taking creative risk for the sake of taking creative risk, but I feel like that is also like making like everything is so much like richer, right? Like I guess when you have like when a creative talent like hear that, sees like, you know, like, oh my God, like I have a partner who's willing to be, you know, in this journey together with me, like, yeah, let's do this together, you know, like let's put in like the hours, let's put in the effort, let's put whatever we have to make this happen, right? Like, so maybe it could be that. It could be like, you know, it's the, I feel like it's not just like on the creative industry, it's not just on like the talents, it's not just on like the agency side. I feel like everyone is to be.
It can't just be relying on the creative people to push it. If
No.
if if we feel that the problem is the client, if
uh,
if
mm,
well, that's part of your job as well. In Indonesia, there is this, uh, and maybe it's because things are getting hotter and hotter. I think it's a few things. It's the democratization of digital advertising. Digital advertising has, in many ways, Singapore is in between an Indonesia and a New York. In New York, it's still ATL.
mm,
They're pushing for TV, and TV is king.
yeah.
Singapore is kind of in between. Digital is there,
Mm-hmm.
but TV is still part of it. Indonesia's gone the fucking other way
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
because you can have micro agencies now, more and more and more and more and more and more and
Mm-hmm.
more, fintech and
Yeah.
startup. And so what's happening is you've got people who run agencies in
Yeah.
Indonesia and who don't come from the background of people who understand the knowledge economy of being from a big agency world.
Okay.
And they don't know how to push them. As a creative leader, you're trying to push them.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know that, and I don't think it's fair for you to answer this question, but here's something I would say to you. Maybe I can get on a clip.
Mm-hmm.
As a leader in advertising creativity who's an Indonesian who wants to be able to impact Indonesian talent,
Mhm.
what would you say to Indonesian talent in order to make sure that the agenda of what's important does not get lost?
Oh, wow.
I'm Kim, brother. Keep going.
Uh, maybe before going into that, I wouldn't. I just want to rectify a thing about like blaming the clients.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
did that. I
think
did not do that. It's on
I,
record that.
I I didn't say it's the clients. I don't think it's just the clients. Maybe it's like everything, right? I say it's more than just the creative's responsibility, you know? So
Understand. Keep going. Yeah.
uh yeah, so I feel like could it be the clients? Could it be like, the account people? Could it be the strategists? But I feel like it's more than just like the creatives alone responsibility. Everyone needs to be like moving in the same direction, I feel like, so it's not just the clients, but if I feel like it's that it takes more than just the creatives to change everything. Can you hear me? Like I feel
I
like I hear echo. Okay, got it.
So how about this? Okay, let me give you a scenario. Okay,
Hmm.
uh, Seven Ideas is hosting a conference in Jakarta now, and I've invited David Stefanov to come and join, and he's one of the panelists. And I
Yeah.
asked him, like, "Hey, David, your panel is right here. These are the Indonesian
Hmm.
people, the people of an industry that you're not quite necessarily have been experienced with, but you want to be able to help them see them thrive and grow and see what's missing there. Could
Hmm.
you just repeat what you've told me in the last 10 minutes about what it is that we need to do, what they need to do out here in the audience? If there are leaders out here who are listening, they might be creative people, they might be strategy people, there might be clients out here, CMOs. What do you tell them? How do we make sure that Indonesian talent does not go wasted?
They must, I guess the first thing they must start thinking that they are creative people too, like that all that they want to do is just like creative work, that if it's not creative, that's not something that they want to do. Uh, I guess that you can start from that, right? It's about like the mentality of like, I want to create like the best creative work that my brand, that my agency can produce, and then like you see that like, and then after that like, okay, so what I can do to impact that. I may not be the creative team behind the idea, but I can be the person selling the idea. I can be the person like convincing the clients to buy the idea. I can be the clients who are willing to take that a little bit of that risk, like buying the idea and executing it and making it happen, or even like pushing it, right? Um, so I think that's what I meant. It's like once everyone like starts like thinking that like that they are creatives, and it's also part of their responsibility to push the work, right? Like I feel like I think we all can start from there, like uh then that's how we can create that environment where like the talents will like flourish, I feel. Because now they feel like, oh yes, like if I think of great ideas, um none of this will go to waste, right? Like because the creative directors, the ECDs will mold it in a way that becomes like it's not just like some crazy creative ideas. It could be like creative ideas that solve like my client's business problems, like, and then I feel like that's the start, you know.
What do you say to agency leaders who say, and fair enough, that they
Mm,
might say that, yeah, but we're now at a we're at a tough time where in the Indonesian, the Jakarta market, between the fact that budgets are dwindling, we need to
hmm
make sure that everything is a green light sell. And sometimes It's not about educating the clients. It's not even about educating ourselves to push for the right ideas. Right now, we just trying to make sure you get to have your bonus during Lebaran next year. You know your
Mm-hmm.
THR. You know, like
Yeah,
what do you say to them? What do you say to them who go, yeah, but I'm not making that, and I want to make sure everyone gets a THR. Like
sure.
how
Like
do you
I
do
can,
it?
I, I guess it's, yes, I understand like the reality of like, like the business, right? Like you have to do that. But also I always believe in a way that there's an easy way out, which is just basically like do whatever it takes to get to that THR, right? Like making sure that we secure that, but then like, do whatever. But I feel like there's always also like another way that may not be that easy, but it's still kind of like, it's that balance of things, right? Like it's not easy, it's not like as straightforward. It takes a lot more effort. Like, of course, like the result may not be like, like the best or the best, but I feel like, you know, there is that other way, like, but it's just a question of like, are you willing to do that? You know? Is everyone willing to do that? It takes everyone, to be in that same mindset of like, yes, I know we all want that, right? But there's an easy way, which is just like, okay, do whatever it takes as long as we get there. But there's also like another way. I feel this is just my naive like mind, you know, like yes, it's not that easy, but I feel like there's another creative way. At the end of the day, Indonesians are great at that. We are always great at using creativity to deal with whatever situations we are facing. Uh, so I always believe that there is that way. It's just a matter of like, is everyone willing to do that?
Okay. Look, on that note, I think let's exhale a little bit. Thank you. That's a lot of. Look, I always like to finish with all my guests with two questions, and the second to last one is really the more important one, which is about you. And I call it 10 minutes of you, 10 minutes of David Stefanov. Surprise me, David. I want to hear something about you. Tell me something about you that I wouldn't know that someone else might go, huh, David is really, that's interesting. I never thought David would be saying that. Or about himself, or something he believes in, or something he does, or something he follows. I'm all ears.
Oh, wow. This is, I don't know. I don't find myself that interesting in the first place, Like I'm just yeah, maybe that's something that will surprise people, that I'm actually quite boring. Like I don't go to museums. I don't go into like all this like, oh, like yeah, as in like I would go to history museums. I wouldn't go to art museums. Like maybe that's the thing that people find interesting. I don't go into like the most like, artsy festival and all that. I'm more interested in other things, like maybe that's another thing as well. I'm more interested in understanding the making of something, like that's why like if you know me, I like buying those physical like Blu-ray copies of movies just because I can watch the making of that movie or what goes behind that movie. Like I want to know like why the director chose to do the movie in this way, or why the set was designed in that way, or why like the cinematographer did the movie in a certain way, like it's the
Does,
same
does,
thing. Like
does, it, does it sound like you're more into the crafting of ideas versus feeding creativity? I don't think one is mutually exclusive than the other. But I think what you're saying, are you saying you're more into the crafting side than is that what it
no,
is?
no. I guess I'm more into understanding the thinking behind
How?
everything. Yes, like the why, like I guess that's the thing that I always wonder, like why the movie is done in that way, or why, like why, I would buy this Jordans rather than that Jordan, like maybe because this Jordan was designed in such a way, like, like I would go into that. I would like try to understand like why the shoe designer chose to design this shoes with this material, with this colorway, with this, with the choice of like this lace, like why, like I guess what the thinking behind that, then I can understand, like, oh yes, like it's not just beautiful, but why it's beautiful, or why people could see it as beautiful. Uh,
Do you think that's more indicative of someone with an entrepreneurial spirit more so than an artistic spirit?
Maybe you can say that because to be honest, I don't have an art background, I grew
But
up
you're an
like
artist.
I know, but I only took art in college when I went to LaSalle. I've always been a science student my whole life. I took double maths in junior college. I took double maths. I did science, went to school studying science, and then I made the switch to art, to design, but I guess I could never leave that science part of me, I guess. Like that's why I have to understand like why, like everything has to make sense, and then like, how you can use the art side or like the creativity side of thing to make that science part interesting, I guess, to make that science part understandable for everyone.
It sounds like it's a because traditionally people would say that creatives are right brain and people
Hmm.
who are, let's say, strategy people are left brain because
Yeah.
one is more analytical, one is more artistic. Maybe you're
Hmm.
just more analytical and your interest lies in the how did this get to this point? How did we get from here to there? Right?
Yeah,
Because that's your
maybe. Yeah.
background. Your background is, I have a similar background to you, by the way, but this is about you. Okay,
Oh,
so
okay.
interesting. Interesting. Okay. So like, yeah, so you would be nerdy like me, like, and look at the BTS, basically, right? You're looking at the
Yes.
documentaries on how
Yeah,
the hell
yeah, yeah.
they do that, how the hell did.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Interesting. And
Yes.
is it really film based or is it just in every aspect of your life?
In every aspect, like everything, like not just film, like even technology, like when, I guess that's why also like I like reading biographies, I like reading books, but specifically biographies of people.
I,
Like,
I exclusively read nonfiction.
oh,
Exclu-
okay, okay, yeah, 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 yes, yes, yes. I read both. I read everything. I like for me, like I would switch between fiction, non-fiction, fiction, non-fiction, just to have that balance.
I prefer
Uh,
I prefer the film experience of fiction, and I prefer
mhm.
like my
The
books right
reading
now. The three books
experience.
that I'm
Yeah.
doing right now, they're all nonfiction. But
Ah,
they're all about something that I'm interested in.
yeah.
But it's a bit like what you just said. It's finding out the why and the how, and it could be
Mm-hmm.
history based. Or one is a history based book. One is like a medical based book, and one is a culture
Okay.
based book. So, but they're all
Ah,
nonfiction.
okay. All right, right, right.
And maybe the same
Interesting.
thing with film, which is it's with film. It's so F1 was the last movie that I watched a couple of weeks ago.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The fact that Apple did you I don't know if I don't know if you ever watched it or even know that there's a movie that exists called F1, but
I know.
the
I
the cameras on the car
yeah.
were on iPhones.
Yes. I wait, was it? Oh yeah, yeah. It's they made it like much smaller, right? Like they designed it
The same
specifically.
housing thing, yeah.
Yes.
But they took
Yes.
the
So
same sensors and they use iPhone sensors and they put it on the
yes.
Same.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
It's
yeah.
the kind of nerdy shit that I'm into. So I'm with
Yes,
you. I'm
e-
with you.
exactly. And yeah, it's funny because my best friend told me like he told me like, and he is more like well read than me. He's like, it's interesting. I think you're the only guy who reads like biographies more than anyone. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just drawn to biographies, you know. Like I guess it's a real account, you know, like it's not, you know, it's a real account of people, like things that they've done, things that they've, you know, like achieved, things that they could share, things that I could learn from these people, you know. Yeah, again, like the nerdy shit that you said about F1, yeah, because I watched like that documentary as well, like how the hell did they do that, you know, like uh so yeah, it's like I don't know. Maybe that's the part about me, you know, like yeah.
We gotta go.
All right. No, thank you for this. This has been fun.
See you, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. All right.
Bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye.